It is Thursday, December 13th, 2012. We're live in the Wall Street Journal newsroom in New York. Today on WSJ Lunch Break, Lincoln, starring Daniel Day-Lewis, leading the field with Golden Globe nominations. We're going to be talking about that right now with Clemency Burton-Hill. She's joining us here on Lunch Break. Big year for Lincoln and a lot of others, but let's just remind everybody, they're always like, wait, the Golden Globes, that's not the Oscars. What is it?
What are they?
What are they?
And who are the Hollywood Foreign Press Association?
Right, why do we care? Right.
They're a group of about 80 freelance writers. And I mean, the Golden Globes have traditionally been always seen as the precursor to the Oscars for